You're with Julian on the Brown Note and a review of the recent release, and cinema release actually, 65, which is a film starring Adam Driver and Ariana Greenblatt, pretty much a two-hander, and I'm just looking her up to see if I can find out where I've seen her. Awake. I might have seen her in the movie Awake. That's the only one. Oh, no way. She is a young Gomora. She's a young Gomora in Infinity War. I saw her face and I was looking at it thinking, I recognise you so much. Wow. So yeah, she's... what did it cost you? Everything. I think the premise for this absolutely critically trashed film, from Brian Woods and Scott Beck wrote it. They wrote A Quiet Place, which is obviously quite popular, but I've not seen the films they wrote and directed called Nightlight and Haunt. But I thought the premise for this, as a sci-fi, was actually kind of brilliant. So the premise is Adam Driver's at the start in like the only establishing shot. There's like no writing to this film at all. They have an establishing shot, which is Adam Driver's a space pilot warrior dude with his wife and very, very sick teenage daughter. And he takes a job that will last for 2 years away from home, but enable them to afford treatment for his daughter. So he takes this. And the bit I thought was great is this happens right at the start, because they have, after some very nice visuals in the title sequence, they have this sort of beach scene where it covers everything about his life. And that's like one scene in about 2 minutes, and that's it. And then he's in space. But their spaceship that's travelling vast distances gets hit by a meteor shower that isn't on any charts. And the genius part is, and then they crash land on an unknown planet. The genius part is, it's the meteor on its way to kill the dinosaurs. So he's crash landed on Earth 65 million years ago after being knocked out of space by the meteor coming down, which is now on its way in the sky, which I thought was great. And then it really is the most rote A to B journey since Skull Island. Like, they have to get from their crashed craft to the escape craft 15 miles away. And that's the whole film. Absolutely the whole film. The only sort of elements that relate to human beings is that Adam Driver finds out that his daughter died. So she didn't survive anyway. And the character played by Ariana Greenblatt, she can't speak English, so she comes from some folk that speak a different language, so they can't relate properly. I don't really think that was an element that was worth having in the film, to be that honest. And they have the usual, gruff guy, his heart melts a bit to save the young girl, which you've seen in a million films. Along the way, they get attacked by dinosaurs. So it wasn't a huge budget film, 45 million. But I will say this, I think the producers were Sam Raimi, the legend of the Evil Dead franchise and Spider-Man. I saw some of the production design on the special effects and on the science fiction angles were actually really quite good. The action sequences are okay. It sort of becomes Jurassic Park for a walk. And along the way, there are some dinosaurs that attack them, and some elongated scenes where they sort of come a cropper and wandering around caves, which aren't very exciting. There's quite a lot of downtime in a movie that can't be more than 90 minutes, 93 minutes long. And it has got trashed. Adam Driver is perfectly fine. He's a great lead actor. He's got that X factor. And Ariana Greenblatt was good. I can't believe that she is the young Gomora from Infinity War. I was suspending the whole film. And I looked on Wikipedia and she doesn't even have an entry. And I was just like, I know you from somewhere. I do. She's very good as well. And they need to be, because there's no other actors really in the whole film. I thought they could have made a lot more of it. I thought they could have written a lot more. Just because all they're doing is going from A to B and engaging in intermittent action sequences. They could have made those a lot more interesting. I mean, you look at a movie like Prey or something like that, and they make all those sequences so riveting and interesting and develop the characters through them. But none of that really happens here. There's not really anything to hang your hat on that develops anything at all. It's quite a flat film, but I will be honest, and I say it just about did the job. It's sort of averaging around 3 out of 10 across places like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't great. And you can see why. There's so little to it. They really could have written a bit more, especially when the action sequences are good but not memorable. So it would have been nicer to like the language barrier issue was almost like, well, we're not writing the script because nothing happens, so we'll make sure they don't speak the same language, so we don't even have to write any dialogue. But I thought it was passable. It got me over the line just. So there's nothing to it, but some of the production design I actually quite liked. I thought the meteor strike at the end was quite appetizing as well. And some of the little elements around the gadgets and everything was quite cool. So yeah, it was, I thought, an interesting premise, a bit wasted, really. They could have done a lot more with that premise, which is really interesting, you know. Humans landing on Earth 65 million years ago and waiting for that meteor to hit that kills off the dinosaurs, I thought was a great sci-fi premise. It's just not very well used. So I am going to get it over the line with a straight 5 out of 10 for the movie 65.